Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of Countdown. As you know, this is your home for all the information that you need as the Jayco Opals and the Australian Boomers prepare for the London Games. We are just 4 weeks away. That's right, 4 weeks away. And so today we're going to be joined by a couple of legends of Australian basketball. One I'll introduce in just a moment. But coming up a little bit later in the show, 4-time Olympian Shane Heal, the Hammer, will talk about the Boomers' preparations for London. We're also going to be joined by the biggest man and the biggest name in Australian basketball, Andrew Bogut, as part of our player profile series. We'll go one-on-one with Andrew. We're also going to have the Countdown Beatdown and all of the insights as well into the camps as we recap what's just occurred in the farewell series and look ahead to what's coming up on the road to London. But first, I have to introduce my special guest host today, and it's somebody who needs just about no introduction, but I'm going to give it anyway, Robyn Maher, because you have been to more Olympic Games than I've had hot dinners. You've been to 3 as a player, 2 as an official, and you're about to go to your second as, well, let's just say, a cheerleader, supporting a team other than the Jayco Opals. How does that feel?
Both.
Robyn Maher, legend of Australian basketball, is with me. Welcome to Countdown.
Thanks very much.
Now, how does it feel? You know, you were with Tom when he was coaching China in Beijing, and now you're going over to London as he's coaching GB. How's it going to feel in that pool game when the Opals actually take on Great Britain? And how did it feel in Beijing when the Opals took on China in a semi-final?
Yeah, I know. It's people always ask me what side am I going to sit on, and you know, right now I don't think I'm going to have a side, because I don't think they're going to have too much trouble getting over GB. But you know, in saying that, GB have done pretty well. But you know, it's good to be there, and it's great, and there's no problems about who I lie with. Yeah, I lie with Tom in bed, and I lie with the Opals on the court. So yeah,
we know what's going to make the highlight reels over the next week or so. Now, I've got to ask you your favourite Olympic memories. You know, you've been there for success, you've been there for low times as well, missing qualification as well. A few years, well, obviously quite a long time ago, it was Barcelona. I think the last time the Opals missed qualifications, missed qualification. When you think about the Olympic Games, what does it mean to you?
Well, it's a special time, and you know, you hang around and you wait around for 4 years for it to happen, and there's all the lows and highs in between it, and you know, as you said, to miss out on it. And I actually went to the 1980 pre-Olympic tournament as well, and missed out in 1980 as well. So I know what it's like to miss out, and I know what it's like to not to be there as a player. So I think my special moment would have to be in '96 when we ended up finally winning a medal. But the other time was in 1988 when we sort of really set our sights on being a true international competitive team. When we beat Russia in that time, and it was the first time Russia's ever lost a game at an Olympic Games, so it was a pretty special time for us then as well. Just
thinking about in Seoul, you mentioned '88, we came 4th in the end, but that was it. That was sort of the announcement on the world stage, as you said.
Yeah, it was
fantastic. Now I've got to ask you, this is one for the WNBL fans out there. I'm sure there are a lot who watch Countdown. Narelle Fletcher constantly talks to me and constantly lectures me about how tough you were. And tell me about 1996 and the injury that you carried throughout the games.
Well, I don't know whether that's tough or just a little bit silly. But,
well, Narelle just ran a marathon, so maybe she's a little bit silly too.
Yeah, there you go. So I'm not doing that silly stuff.
Yeah, okay, right.
Yeah, we were at a pre-Olympic tournament, and it was 2 days before we were to go into the village. And we were playing, I think it was Japan, and just grabbed the ball, turned and broke my hand. And it was as quick as that and as easy as that. And I thought my days were over, but we've got such good medical staff, and they were saying, "Nah, you'll be right," and tape it up and put a little bit of thing on it. And I sort of got through it. It was my left hand, and Tom said I never go left, so it didn't really matter. So, you know, I was right. Yeah, it was a tough time, and you know, but it's something. I'm telling you, every athlete would try and do it. You know, there's nothing tough about it. It's just I want to play and I want to be there.
Yeah, and as you say, that was one of the highlights, leading the team to the first Olympic medal in basketball. Well, it's a nice segue because the Opals are about to embark upon their latest pre-Olympic campaign, I suppose. They're about to head to Europe for 6 matches in the lead-up. Now, they play 3 matches in GB against Great Britain, France, and also Angola. Then they check into the village for a couple of days, get acclimatised, get some of those nerves out of the way, and then they go to France for another tournament where they play France, China, and Brazil in further lead-up games. How important are those matches?
Oh, what a great series. I mean, that's great. I mean, just having the 3 series here in Australia was super, but you know, to have teams that they're going to play to play GB in their first game, so get that out of the way and get some nerves out of the way of playing a team that they've never played before. France have just gone into their draw, so they play them 2 or 3 times, so you know, that's great. They play Russia again. You know, couldn't get any better. I remember in '96 when we played at the Olympics that we'd played every team prior to stepping on the court, so that really helped us and really helped our scout of them. And Australia has to rely on that scout too, because we're, you know, in those days especially, we weren't that big or weren't that talented, so we relied on our scout, and that's what got us through. But I think the Opals are in for a great series and a great lead up to a great games.
Having just seen the farewell series, what were your impressions of the Opals? How stern a test were the Brazilians, and what are the biggest things the Opals need to work on?
Well, the Brazilians turned out to be not a great test, I don't think. You know, but it certainly got some nerves out of, you know, they've just been selected into Olympic teams, so there's going to be some nerves about who's playing, who's starting, who's going to get minutes, who's not. So at least it gave them that that sort of confidence,
mental edge, I guess, as well.
To go into that series. So, you know, to get that out of the way and on the road is good for them.
It's been a different preparation for the Boomers. They're about to head into their traditional Gold Coast camp. They've been heading up there for around about 10 years. And David Anderson, who's a key player of their side, is about to join the squad. They took on a pretty inexperienced Greek side, so the test was a bit different because the Brazilians at least come with an older squad. And I mean, how important now is this time for Brett Brown? Because we know, and we've spoken to people on Countdown in previous weeks about he's come to the team late, Mills has come to the team late, Ingles has come to the team late, David Anderson still is, hasn't joined the team, he's about to join the team. These are some pivotal pieces. I mean, this time must be so valuable.
Yeah, I think that also they're healthy as well. So I mean, that's a great thing for them, that they're a healthy team. I think they can have a look back at the Opals at the World Championships when they come together so late and learn from a few of those mistakes. Just let everyone play and get on with it and not sort of build them into the team as you go along. I think the Opals made a mistake with that at the Worlds. They're going to have to come together, but it's not unusual. They're well-tuned athletes and well-travelled athletes, and they know how to play the game. And it's going to be interesting to see how they go, because they haven't got the best talent available. But they've got talent. So they're going to be good.
Absolutely, and I guess there are so many different styles now, particularly in the men's game, that who knows? Little things. When I say little things, field goal percentage. If you shoot well on one night, you're a massive chance to cause an upset. But all of a sudden, things don't quite go to plan. Then you can be facing a blowout potentially.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tournament play.
Yeah.
And what about the wheelchair athletes are about to embark upon their final preparations for the Paralympic Games, which of course begin 2 weeks after the Olympics finish in London. The rollers are the defending gold medalists from the Paralympics in Beijing, and the gliders won bronze in Beijing. How tough is it, Robyn, to actually come back? I mean, you had the experience with the Opals and you've seen it since. Having high expectations, winning bronze in Atlanta, then having to back it up, and the pressure at home, they've got to play the US, they've got to beat them, or they've at least got to be competitive. And year after year to continue to provide that effort, to continue to provide that high level of performance. And this is now what the rollers and the gliders are facing. Yeah, no,
well, they're medalists too.
Yeah.
And, they've got something to prove and something to back up onto. They'll do great, and they've got a great series to prepare and time together. So they're going to have an Olympic Games to look at what's going on and things like that. So they'll definitely medal.
Yeah, you'd definitely feel very confident about that. And
yeah.
you can, if you're in Sydney, make sure you get along to the Olympic Park Sports Centre. The tickets are available through Ticket Direct. The series is going to be from July 18 to 21. The Rollers are playing Great Britain and Japan, two of the higher ranked teams in the world, and likewise for the Gliders, the women who defeated Japan in the 4th place playoff in Beijing. They'll be playing them again. Germany, who won the silver medal in Beijing, will be there, as will China. So a high quality series ahead of the Paralympics awaits the Gliders and the Rollers coming up in Sydney. Make sure you check out the Basketball Australia website for details, and you can get your tickets through Ticket Direct. Now, Andrew Bogut, Robyn, he's going to be a huge loss for the Boomers, but again, we've been here before with Longley missing Olympics, and we know Penny Taylor's out for the Opals. Mentally, how do the other Boomers prepare?
Well, at least they've got time to prepare.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, so they're going to play all their series games before it without those players. So there was no, a week before, let's replace, Penny or Bogut or someone. Yeah. So, losses like that aren't easy for Australians to recover from, because, our 7-footers or our, best players aren't, just dime a dozen. So, it's going to be tough for them, but, people take up the slack, and that's what Australians are renowned for. They love a challenge, and they're gritty and they're gutsy, and I think we'll get over those losses.
Well, a short time ago, Countdown caught up with the biggest man in Australian basketball to talk about his injury, talk about the Boomers' prospects, and also the future that awaits him at the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah, been back in Australia for a little while now. The ankle's slow and steady, but it's getting better. It's really important that I take my time with it and don't be silly. Still not anywhere near running. I think I'm at the 8.5 week mark right now since surgery. Funnily enough, I go back to the States on Tuesday and get a check from the orthopaedist that did the surgery, and hopefully everything's okay, and hoping to start light jogging on grass within 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah. While you've been here, have you had a chance to touch base with any of the Boomers guys and speak to them about their progress?
Yeah, I spoke to most of the Boomers guys since they had the camp here in Melbourne. I'm real good friends with Alex Marriage as well, so we caught up for dinner a couple of times when he was out here with his busy schedule, and been texting back and forth with a couple of other guys, whether I came into the gym here and came down to work out a couple of times. So kept in touch. Brett Brown's hit me a couple of times as well, and I wish them all the best. It's going to be a good Olympics, and hopefully we can get a medal. Yeah, what do you think they need to do to get a medal? What are their strengths and where do they need to go? It's hard to say. I haven't seen a lot of their games, and the Greek series was hard to judge because it wasn't a quality team that you're going to face in Europe, so it's hard to judge against that. But it's the same old thing with us. We just got to be, have that nastiness that the Australians usually have, and go out there and play hard and leave it all out on the floor. But even with myself playing in that team, it's a very tough task to get a medal. So we have our work cut out for us, and hopefully we can get that elusive medal that we've never had before.
Yeah. Even though they don't have you on the side, they're still pretty big, and the front court's still pretty strong. Can the guys like Alex Marriage and Dave Anderson and Bainesy carry the load without you?
I think so. I think we've still got some premier big men that can carry the load going into London that I'm not there, and obviously Chris Anstey retired and a couple other guys, but I think it's going to be a team game, and that's where usually we're successful. So we need everyone to come out and do their job. But Alex is a premier big man in Europe. Dave Anderson's been world class for the last 3 or 4 years in Italy and around the world. Matty Nielsen's carved out a great career, starting out in the NBL, and Baines is a young up-and-comer and Greek Player of the Year in that league. So there's a lot of pressure on guys, but at the same time, I think we'll be okay.
What's happening back in Golden State for you in the short term?
In the short term, I won't be heading to Golden State. I'll head to LA, where my orthopaedist is. The Warriors will start their summer league campaign next week, so and I'll be in Vegas anyway. They'll check me out, make sure I'm okay. Be back in Australia after that, working out here, progressing with my rehab and training, and then get over there in early September and start the grind. Obviously, a focus of mine is trying to have an injury-free season. The last two injuries out of my control, but I want to try and focus on making sure that they don't happen again. If I get a bit of luck, and I'm excited to be in a new city, a new franchise. We had a great draft, in my opinion. We drafted a lot of good players, young guys, a lot of potential. and we still have room to get better with trades and some cash that we have spare in our salary cap. So I'm very excited to be part of the franchise, and hopefully we can make our playoff run.
Great to have a chat there to Andrew Bogut, Davin Scargetta. He is just a man about town, getting around and getting all the big interviews. Andrew Bogut, the big man in Australian basketball. Now, pressure's going to be on my guest host, Robyn Maher, in a moment. We're just giving her a moment to recover because it's now time for the Countdown Beatdown. So, Robyn, the Countdown Beatdown brought to us by Peak Sports sees our viewers every week being able to tweet into us, and they use the Basketball Australia or the Boomers or the Jayco Opals Twitter hashtag, not the hashtags, they use the Twitter handles and they use the hashtag Beatdown.
It's all
that
a
confusing?
mystery to me.
Okay, righto.
Just tweeting, whatever it is.
The upshot is that they can win prizes. They can possibly win the Peak Sports merchandise pack at the end of the Countdown series. But the issue for you is that you're under pressure. Now, you've seen that our man Chris here has got the 24-second shot clock in the background.
I know, I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. Question number 1 for Robyn Maher. We think that Patty Mills should be getting inside more instead of shooting the ball from the outside. What do you think?
Well, I think Patty Mills can shoot from the outside as long as he keeps shooting them and making them. I mean, he's over the series he's proved that he's great from that range, and why not? But you know, a guard needs to go inside at some stage and face those mountains and do that. I think wherever. I think he's good inside and outside.
I want to ask a follow-up as we get the shot clock expiring in the background. How, from a coaching perspective or from a team perspective, is the decision, a player like Mills, probably the most important player in many respects in the Boomers' offensive structure, is the decision to go inside or outside, is that something that he makes on the run, or is that something that's dictated to by the coach?
Well, I guess it's got to do with their running game and what offense they're playing. But mainly you would stick with what you're good at. So if Paddy's good on the outside, which he is, I would structure my offense around that. And
shooter's mentality we hear a lot about. If he's missing a few, is he just got to keep shooting them? That's his role in the team, you think?
He will shoot. He will keep shooting them.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a shooter. I mean, they got to. Yeah. I mean, you can't miss two and go, oh no, that's my game. Yeah. You got to keep them up.
Well, we might continue our focus on the point guards, and we'll switch to the Jayco Opals and ask about Christy Harrower. I mean, how much gas does she have in the tank, do you think? 37 years of age. She's coming in. She's had an injury during the WNBL season, which she seems to have recovered fully from. Coach Graff has been able to manage her minutes in the preparation. How do you think she's going to go in London? How important is she to our chances?
Well, she's our starting point guard, so she's very important. She's a true champion. She's been a champion for a lot of years now. The greatest thing about the Olympic Games is you play one game on, one game off. So that's just blissful for someone that's coming into Olympic Games with a slight injury. I think Christy has recovered greatly from her injury from the WNBL season, and I don't think she'll have any problems getting through that series, not at all.
All right, good news for Opals fans, according to Robyn Maher. That is the Countdown Beatdown for this week, thanks to Peak Sports. Right now it's time for many people's favourite part of the program. Robyn Maher tells me she watches to the end every single week, so she would have enjoyed the Countdown conversation brought to you by Spalding each and every week, Robyn. And as you know, not only do we have you to answer a key question about the number 4, that is our feature number for this week, just 4 weeks to go until the games tip off in London, but we also have a man on the line who features the number 4 heavily in his biography, Robyn. 4 times he went to the Olympic Games.
He does, yes, and it's well done.
Yeah, absolutely. Shane the Hammer Hill joins us from Queensland. Hammer, welcome to you.
Yeah, thanks. Great to be online.
Now, as I've said, we're going to have a look at the number 4, and I think it's probably appropriate that we start off by thinking about the 4-man. And when you think about the Boomers squad, we know that Brett Brown has said quite explicitly that Alex Marich is going to be your starting centre. So who's going to start in that 4 spot? Will it be Anderson? Will it be Nielsen? Will it be Baines? Or have you got some thoughts on that?
Well, it's going to be a tough decision because I think Matty Nielsen, the captain of the team, can certainly fill that role and is a very versatile guy, particularly on the defensive end. And Dave Anderson, who's had so much success in the European leagues, in the top European leagues, and won titles, probably adds more of an offensive component than what Matty does. But both fantastic players and probably 2 of the better players over the last 20 years in that 4 spot.
Now I've got to ask, Robyn, was that the hammer sitting on the fence then?
as they will.
I'm not sure.
I think either will be good, guys. It's just the defensive side or the offensive side. Both have different strings to their bow.
So do you think it's going to be a case of the matchups and maybe a game-by-game thing? Robyn was saying before we came on air to talk to you that as captain she came off the bench, and so that probably gives the team a bit of a different look as well.
Well, I think both players have the greater results in mind and would be prepared to be able to come off the bench. Whatever Brett Brown wants, I know both of those guys really well, and they would certainly be able to do that. And I know Matty Nielsen, at the World Championships came off the bench at stages, and that wasn't a problem for them.
And Robyn, I've got to ask you about the Opals as well. We know that the feature is the big front. One of the biggest features for the Opals is the big front line. Susie Bakovic looks like she's going to start at the 5 spot. Lauren Jackson probably at the 4. Liz Cambage probably coming off the bench with Abby Bishop. How do you think Carrie Graff's going to structure that? And do you think she'll play potentially the big 3, Bakovic, Jackson and Cambage all at once?
Well, what a wonderful thing to have.
Yeah.
Have that decision in the women's basketball is unheard of, to have a... who are we going to start at the 4 or who are we going to start at the 5? I think that obviously Susie will start at the 5 and Loz will come off on the 4, start as the 4. And, I think that we will see at some stage the 3 of them play together. I mean, definitely I'd definitely try them at least and maybe even go one bigger and have Jenna start at the point. That might be an option as well. You could come up against some real big teams, and Russia's a big team and USA's huge and got that size at the point end at the 5 and 4, so might be a few changes she can look at.
Yeah, pretty exciting times for Carrie Graff and some lovely problems to have. But Hammer, the dilemmas for the Boomers are a little bit different. We know that their depth isn't quite what the Opals have, but what are your expectations of the Boomers coming into London?
It's going to be a really difficult task. I think we've got guys now that have a whole lot of European experience, which we haven't had over the past years, and we've got a whole lot of guys that are coming into the good stage of their career. Guys like Joe Ingles now that's coming up for his second Olympics, and there is a bit of depth there, but we're also missing Bogut, which leaves a massive hole in the team. I think it's all going to come down to one game. I think we're going to finish, probably 3rd or 4th in our pool, probably 3rd, and then it's going to come down to one game having to beat the 2nd place in the other pool, and that's going to be a powerhouse nation that the Boomers are going to be playing against, and we're probably going to have to create history to make that Final 4, just like we did in 96 and 2000.
Well, the task is there for the Boomers. It's also there for the Opals. The Countdown conversation brought to you by Sporting. We'd like to thank a very special guest on the line, Shane Heal. Thanks to you.
My pleasure.
And thanks, of course, to you, Robyn Maher. It's been a pleasure to have you in the studio. You're going to be winging your way to London very soon to barrack for the Jayco Opals. Also a little bit of a sneaky support for GB as well, no doubt.
Yeah, that's right.
And thanks again to you for joining us on Countdown. As we do every week, we want to thank our sponsors, as the Australian Sports Commission, Peak Sports, Spalding, Jayco and Sporting Pulse. And we look forward to you joining us again next week.